Welcome back, everybody, to Don't Call It a Podcast because it's much bigger than that. With myself, Melanie, and Chrissy, we are both psychic mediums here to discuss psychic kids. So there's a lot going on in this topic, and we want to cover a few different things. One for sure is being a psychic kid yourself, but also having a child that is psychic and learning how to understand and grasp everything that goes along with it, right? It's a lot.
Oh, definitely. There's hopefully a lot of parents who were psychic kids kind of learned from it, but it's also just, we're here to help to kind of sort out the way to help them and yeah, how to keep them healthy and happy.
Right. Also, too, I want to start out talking with everyone about how I had these psychic abilities when I was a child, and it was confusing, scary. It was jarring at times. But more than anything, the confusion was through the roof because I didn't understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling, why I was getting messages that I was getting. I didn't even know they were messages, you know? And so as a child, being open to some of, and I wasn't even fully open. Okay. Some kids are born all the way open psychically, and I was born open but closed. And I think Chrissy knows exactly what I mean.
Yep.
But it's like I didn't understand anything that was happening to me. So that misunderstood energy, that confusion I was in, it was making me angry, upset, depressed, even like lethargic, drained, and it really made me work against myself is what I'm really getting at here. And I started questioning myself. I questioned the voice in my head, which is my higher self. They're trying to help me, but I went against those things because of the confusion that I was in.
Yeah, confusion is like the perfect word for it. It's um you're a kid and you have an imagination, and so you're always told that that's your imagination, that's your excuse, but it's so real to you. So it's confusing to kind of see what is the reality and what is your imagination. And your brain is just different than adults. And just sometimes I think adults forget about what it's like to be a kid and just how hard childhood really is. Like your surroundings are controlled, what you eat, when you go to bed, what you do with your day, everything is so controlled. So I think a lot of parents like forget about the compassion of this like childhood and that it's, you don't have your own money, you don't get to plan your own vacations, like you don't get to choose really even like maybe what you wear. Like everything is just up to somebody else. So whenever someone tells you what you're experiencing is not real, that it's just your imagination, it really does kind of make you question like your purpose and your sanity as like a kid, but like kids just don't might not know that those terms yet.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up too, because as children, we really do have limited options. Like, we don't get to pick as much. We don't get to make the final decision on things as much as children. Because I'm talking about way back, like, elementary school and even before. For as far back as I can remember, I remember being so little that I was like 3, 4, had the pacifier binky in my mouth, wasn't talking yet. But I remember taking in all of my surroundings really deeply. Like, I remember watching adults around me and listening into their conversations, and they probably had no idea that I was doing that at such a young age. And I was curious about what they were talking about. And I didn't understand what they were talking about, but I was feeling the energies of the conversation. So, say, like, my mom was talking to somebody about like somebody passing over. And I didn't know what they were saying or understood it because I didn't speak yet. but I felt the energy of sadness and, those lower vibrational energies that would be attached to someone crossing over and in the conversation they were having. And I remember the energies that I was tapping into scared me because I didn't know what it was. And I mean, at 3 years old, and I couldn't even talk yet, there is no way to talk to anybody about that, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, I remember 3 years old. We lived in Florida, and we went down there because my grandma's like second husband was really sick, and I was just like drawn to like him dying. Like everyone was so kind of confused on why I was so drawn to like being by his bedside, and that was the first time I really experienced like someone actively dying, and I just for a 3 year old, and it's one of my first memories. I remember having my third birthday down there, and it was just everyone was just very kind of protective over like they didn't want me to like get too close or to stay too long, but I was just like drawn, like just I remember standing by his bedside, and I only met this man maybe twice. And so I didn't have like a big connection with him like as a relationship, but just I just remember being fascinated with the process of him dying and just kind of knowing there was a bigger meaning to it, or knowing that there was it wasn't like a finality, it was like a change of like a process, and just kind of understanding that. And later on, when my grandma was dying, I was a little bit older, and I remember going with my parents every single evening to her condo and helping her get from like the couch to the bed, and then in the morning from the bed to the couch. And I just couldn't get enough of like almost her energy when she was passing. It was like when she was like sick, and I could kind of see the light kind of going out in her, and everyone was so confused, like, why did she want to be here? It was like summer break, and like I'd leave a friend's house to go help my dad put her into bed. And I was just so fascinated and so curious about just like the dying process, especially when someone is sick. And I mean, later on, that led to me working in the funeral business, and also with, organ and tissue recovery, like in the OR, whenever people are dying. I just think it's like such a privilege to kind of be there for someone during that process. And just as a kid, I picked up on that importance, just naturally. So it comes out in different ways.
That's really crazy because you made me think of two things. One, my mom is so psychic, like so psychic. And she has always been at the side of someone's deathbed. Like she was there when her mom took her last breath. She was there when her dad took his last breath and other people too before that. And she always was like, why am I always where death is? And I told her because she has this beautiful angelic energy that is so healing to people when they are about to cross over. And it's like they get a special treat. They got to have her healing energy at their bedside. And it was the last beautiful experience before they crossed over. And I think it's just it's amazing. So I kind of feel like for you, Chrissy, like you've got something like that going on too. That's why you were led to get into that line of work before. But it's just time for you to do other stuff now or help dead people in a different way now. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I mean, it's always in like reflection of just like memories, and but like yeah, as a kid, I mean, being a psychic kid, it could be so many things. Like even you talking about like hearing people adults conversations, and you'd pick up on like the energies. I had a hard time going to school and being around all those energies. Like the cafeteria was overwhelming. Like I would just like have to go sit like just out in the hallway and eat, or like, I would eat fast and go sit in the bathroom just, or like, could not wait to get outside for recess, not to play, but just to get outside. Like that energy was so much. And I think a lot of parents wouldn't understand like just, how hard energetically school is for kids. It's like pretty much going to like a rock concert every single day for hours, and like you can't leave. Like you can't just be like, I heard my favorite song, time to go. It's like you're stuck there for like 7 hours a day around people that have low energy, high energy, bad energy that might not have the best intentions for you. Like it's overwhelming for kids, and it just like kind of just remind parents of like that's another control that they don't have, is just to have that compassion and understanding of their day, because their day might just be coloring in kindergarten, but you never know who's at their table that they're stuck with that day to like color with. It could be someone going through a loss, or someone going through, like, their parents are going through a divorce, or there's a lot of fighting in their home. Like, all of that kind of rubs off on us if we're not careful and we don't teach our kids to protect their energy before and even after school.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I'm glad you said that and brought up that point because everyone carries energies with them, and then we also carry energies of other people that we are around, that we live with in our home, and things like that. So, like you said, if there's negative energies happening in the home, that child is going to bring those negative energies with them to the school, even if it wasn't directly their energies, it came from their home where they live and reside. And the thing is children don't know that grounding is a thing and that they need to balance their energies. And especially the kids in the 80s, when I was a kid, definitely didn't know that. Even the parents didn't know that. You know what I mean? But like
Totally.
nowadays, it's okay to talk about this stuff, and we need to teach our kids and kids in general that grounding and balancing is imperative for living. You know what I mean?
100%. And that's why I would love to see more meditation in schools. Instead of detention, these kids need meditation. They need to learn how to bring their energy back to them, to disconnect any energy that's not theirs, because they might be behaving in a way because they're confused, or they're influenced, or um, they just feel overwhelmed. And I think it's even important to, yeah, get kids outside as much as possible. I remember having like 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes of recess, but nowadays kids sometimes get 7 minutes of recess. And like by the time you even get out there and get started playing or running around, or even just to sit down and put like your feet in the grass, or like your back up against a tree, just to kind of release that energy that they might not even realize that they need or that they're doing. But that time's not given to kids as much anymore. And that's why we're just seeing more, I think, animosity, more bullying, more violence in schools, is because there's nowhere for that energy to go. And if we brought meditation into schools, or we even brought grounding practices, or just energetic practices, it's doesn't even mean it's spiritual, it's not religious, it doesn't have to fall under any of those categories, because it's just existing. And I think schools just need to kind of get over the, preconceived assumption of these practices, because they could really help a lot of kids. They could help teachers. I mean, teachers, that's probably one of the hardest jobs, I think. I mean, teachers and nurses. So it's just, I think everyone would benefit from that if they just learned. But that's why I kind of started a practice with my son before school, because I drive him to school. And we do a practice every day, just because I know he's not going to learn it in school. And I would love to share with other kids, but, I can't without their parental permission. But I just know, even his first day walking into a brand new school, he walked in there confident, head up, excited, and protected. And he just had a great day, and he's had awesome days since, just because he understands energy. He understands how to protect his and how to cleanse his.
Oh, I love that so much, Chrissy. And, even for those, like, that would be ideal if all parents had the time to spend with their kids like that. But even for the busier parents out there, we can still teach our kids how to balance and ground their energy and the importance of doing so. And our children could even do that on their own, because for me, I noticed a lot of kids acted out at my school. And I feel now, looking back, it's because they were ungrounded, off balance, dealing with things at the home energetically that was throwing them off, keeping them off and unbalanced. And it made them act up at school because they were ungrounded. They were, out of their minds,
Yeah.
unbalanced. And it drives you crazy from the inside out. And for me, I would sit there and daydream and zone out. And I was actually having psychic visions, but didn't know it. And people were just telling me, oh, that's just you refusing to pay attention. That's just you um being absent and displacent. And it's like, no, that was me trying to ground my energy so I could pay attention to school and the teacher and whatever
Yeah.
was being taught. Like they overloaded me. First of all, the school day was way too long with not enough breaks.
Yeah.
And that was a big problem for me. Not enough breaks, and they weren't long enough.
No, not long enough. And I think a lot of times kids get diagnosed with like ADHD too easily, not realizing that like sometimes it is an energetic thing. Um, with ADHD, it can be like I even have it now. Like so be having a conversation with an adult and they mention something and I can't help it, but like I'll hear like a message or I'll get like a random thought in my head and I literally just like kind of zone out for a second and I like look away or I break eye contact and sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not trying to be rude or I'm not trying to uh be dismissive, but it's those signs in ADHD for kids can really be just that they're being distracted by energy or they're being distracted by spirit. Um, these schools, some of them, like the one that my son goes to, it's old. It used to be a military artillery. Like, could you imagine the energy in there if like he didn't know how to protect himself and like even the other kids that might be acting a little unusual or a little more overactive, it could just be the energy that they're picking up on because it used to be a military artillery. Like you just never know what walked those halls or what walked this land that could be influencing the kids around. So before I was diagnosed ADHD, but I know I'm not. I just know now it's spirit, and I just know that like if my son or another child that I would know is going down that road to be diagnosed, it's like, well, maybe check them in energetically, even though that's not really that common and it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But I just think it's important to like kind of before you medicate someone to understand all the possibilities of what it could be.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so also as a child, and I know you did too, Chrissy, I didn't just have visions that were like daydreams. I also saw ghosts, but just nearly not as often as I do now. Like I almost see at least one ghost or more every day now. But as a child, it was very few and far between. But when it happened, it was just very like in your face, like you just saw a ghost. You know what I
Yeah, it's
mean?
like undeniable.
Um, and it would stir up other emotions in me, is more of what I wanted to get at with by saying that, because it made me feel fear and anxiety because I didn't understand why I was seeing things that weren't there. Then I was questioning my own sanity as this young little kid. I shouldn't have even been having those type of thoughts, but I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. And it's not that my mom was an amazing, loving mom and was always there for us and me, but our parents back then didn't know how to talk about this stuff because they didn't even know about it. So it was like a real crazy time to be born as a psychic child, I guess.
Like crazy time. And I even know like Milo's had a couple, he's 11 and over like even by starting at like 2, I remember him having some experiences. And just from our parents not having education on this topic or even acknowledging that this is a possibility, it's so like I was dismissed and just told like, oh, forget it, or you're just making that up or whatever. But I caught myself almost doing that to my own child because it's just so ingrained in your head that like, oh, I don't want to make it scary and make it real for them. So I'm going to tell them it was just, in their head or it's just their imagination. But it's like, no, they need that validation. Cause like, I want to be the parent that I didn't have with this kind of, um, topic and with this kind of experience. So I literally caught myself almost doing the exact same thing that I criticized my parents for doing because I know better, they didn't. And I know now to validate his experiences, to ask the right questions, to get more information, but also to help him understand what his experience was and what it could have meant. And there's so many different questions and stuff that to ask and different ways to help kids that yeah we'll continue to go over, but it just it was a learned fear as a parent. And I mean, there's nothing that will bring up, like having kids will just bring up so much from your own childhood that you won't even realize that you might have thought you healed everything, but then your kid has an experience that's similar to yours, and you have to react the way that like you would hope your parents did instead of how your parents actually did. So having a kid is definitely something that will drum up a lot of your own childhood emotions, traumas, questions, and ones that will come out of the left field that you would thought, didn't matter or that didn't have such a big meaning.
Yeah. Wow. You really hit that one right on the head too. Um, you know, uh, I also had this really crazy telepathic ability as a kid, and this would be really jarring for any small children. And this went on, up into my teenage years, of course, but it started at a really young age. So whoever was my little best friend for the school year, right? I would get real close with that kid. We would spend the night together all the time, play together all the time, play at recess every day at school together. And after a while, it's like the kind of psychic I am, the more I get closer to somebody, the more I know about them because the more I can tap into that person's energy. Because like their energy becomes familiar to me as if it's like my own, even though it's not. It's really weird. And I started opening up these telepathic connections with people that I was close to, and it was bizarre for me, so I didn't talk about it to anybody. But my little friends over the years would make comments like I would show up to their house, say when I was older, like I would walk to their house and they'd be like, I was just thinking about you, or call them on the phone and be like, I was just picking up the phone to call you and it rang and it was you calling me, like stuff like that all the time. And I didn't realize back then that that was actually connected to a telepathic connection through energy and becoming close to those individuals. Um, and I guess as I got older, I started really realizing into my teenage years that, hey, like if I get close to somebody, I actually like am tapping into them. But I didn't know that it was like energy that I was reading. I didn't understand that or know anything about energy back then. But I knew that I was telepathically communicating with my little friends and stuff. And even like boys that I had crushes on, I would think about that boy all the time and how cute he was and how I wished he would talk to me and then go to school the next day and that boy would pass me a note and I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like I bet a lot of the kids around you even kind of sensed that, not knowing what it was. And since they don't understand it, like we fear what we don't understand, and that they like that's how like even some of your bullying probably happened because they just didn't understand you, or they misinterpreted the coincidences as um like yeah, just in like a negative way instead of just knowing that like that just means we're connected. But kids just don't know that and they're not educated on it. And that's kind of, why a lot of the anger or yeah, negative behavior comes out or towards somebody like us because we make people feel different because they don't understand what they're feeling.
Yeah, and I love that you said that too, because I was just thinking like I actually pushed a few of the little boy crushes away because I think that my energy freaked them out.
Yeah.
Is like they were picking up on telepathic stuff from me and it scared them because they didn't understand it. So actually, 9 times out of 10, my whoever I was crushing on, they would kind of come through, but then they would totally run away. You know what I mean? And now I
Yeah.
realize it's because the intensity of the energy I was putting out, I didn't know back then.
Right. And it's also like as you're like growing up and you're going through like puberty, like your energy intensifies. And if you don't keep that energy pulled in, I think that's why so many kids can be influenced by, the wrong crowd or their peers. Just like you kind of lose yourself sometimes. And I think a lot of parents think that you're losing yourself because you're a teenager, you're trying to find yourself by losing yourself in other people's personalities, but it's because your energy is so open that you're easily manipulated in all these different directions that not until maybe you're in your mid 20s do you really find the right people to help you pull yourself back together to who you truly are, what your interests really are. And that's why I say, like, never hold someone account, like, or a prisoner of their past, because especially in teenager years, like your brain's different, your energy's different. It's just, yeah, that's a very important time for kids to understand energy, like,
Yes.
yeah, calling their energy back and disconnecting any energy that's not theirs.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that up about teenage years because when I got into my teenager years, it was really, really horrible dealing with feeling because everybody's going through puberty, everybody's changing in big ways. And I was just feeling all of it on top of mine. You know what I mean? So it was very overwhelming to the point where I almost couldn't handle it. I
Yeah.
really couldn't. And I thought there was something wrong with me. And the thing is there was never anything wrong with me. Everyone felt the same way I did about everything, but I was just feeling what I felt plus what they all felt, which made it 100 times more on my end. And then it made me think I was different. I was weird. There was something wrong with me. I wasn't right. I wasn't like everybody else. And then that threw me into this kick where I felt like I have to be like everyone else. I have to hide the fact that I'm different. So I'm going to start pretending and acting out roles and act like my friends and be like them so that I fit in. I go unnoticed and I'm not labeled as the weirdo, the one that has something wrong with them, the one that isn't like everybody else. Because to me, I thought that was bad and that wasn't okay.
Yeah, that's why it's also very important to be mindful of what labels you're putting on kids, because if you're telling a kid all the time that they're bad, they're going to be bad. If you build them up and they're like, you're such a good person, you're such a good student, you're such a good athlete, you're such a good son, you're such a good daughter, they're going to strive to be that label that you're putting on them. And so that's even like whenever you are in school and people are like, you're the weird one or you're this, like it just, we can't help because we're humans that we kind of conform to our label. And
Yeah.
just to kind of to take that power back and like label yourself as like your name or your interests and just kind of try to keep those titles away from you because you don't want to fulfill other people's expectations of you. You just want to continue to um, just keep serving yourself and your highest good.
Yeah, and that's funny you said that because I was sitting here thinking about all I wanted to do was hide the fact that I was different because I was, and see, the thing is being in such a different energy, and it's because I was born with a higher frequency than normal. Other people are born with a much lower frequency and it has to be built up. I was born with an already higher frequency, as Chrissy was too. That's how we were so open as children at such young ages, even. But the thing is because my energy was so different, it was felt by the other kids, and the other kids knew I was different. And I never even had to say anything or prove that I was different. They just knew it by feeling my energy. And I was immediately singled out. I got picked on, made fun of, and bullied right away, starting in first grade. Me being weird and not fitting in, and the one thing that really they got me on was being quiet and shy. I just thought if I kept to myself and stayed away from the other kids, I played alone at recess and stuff in like kindergarten and first grade. And I remember looking around the playground like, why is everyone here acting like they've been here for a long time? Like this isn't a brand new thing coming to school. Everyone acts like, oh, this is something they've always done. And everyone acts like they know each other. And then there was me sitting alone on the furthest away swing in the corner of the playground, watching everyone else acting familiar with each other like they've always done this. And then I'm like, this is weird. And you guys are all weird for acting like this isn't weird.
That's so true. It's like thinking when, like, yeah, being labeled the weird one, but you're like, everyone else is so weird. Like, no one else is like like everyone else is like experiencing the world so differently, but they all can kind of, I don't know, see it in a similar way that they can like exist together. But as
It's
like
like
a,
they were faking it to make it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
didn't know. And I was like, I'm not faking nothing. I don't know what you
right.
people are talking about.
Yeah, I couldn't hide my weirdness at all. And I'm an identical twin, so I also like we
Yeah.
started a new school in second grade. And even before that, like ever since we were little, like I had always was so always so protective and concerned over my sister. But I think because I feel like I kind of got like we're literally one person split down the middle. We're identical, so it was like one egg, or one embryo like split down the middle. So even in basketball, like I could dribble, she could shoot. Like softball, she could pitch, I could hit. Like we were just literally, if we would be like superhuman put together. And I feel like I got
That
all of
is
like
so
the
weird.
spiritual abilities. Yeah, it's so weird because she was just like off doing her thing, and there I am like concerned for her happiness and her safety, and I had anxiety to make sure she was
Mother
having a good
hen.
day. Just like so, I picked up on her energy. I was like almost trying to like manage it to make sure more than like, and it was at my expense of my own happiness and my own like school experience. So this was like a problem. They wouldn't even let us be in the same classroom because it was just like overwhelming. Just, but I needed to see her and make sure she was happy and people were being nice to her. Maybe because people were being mean to me too, but like I don't know, just and like it was like such a weird dynamic, but I just really felt like I just, yeah, I like I was her protector, or I had to be instead of having
Yeah,
my own experience. And I just really, not that I wish, because like I'm glad I learned it and I could help other people with this, but just to teach kids that it's okay to like pull it back, to worry about yourself. Like we need to like teach the kids that to bring their power back because even in that situation, I was powerless to my own anxiety. I was powerless to my own concern for her, and it was at my expense. But like we need to remind kids that they have the power to be like, she's fine. I have to worry about myself and it's okay to. And just to make sure I'm having a good day, making sure I make a best friend, making sure that my friends are treating me right. And this, because I think a lot of kids that are empaths and they're open and they have all of this energy that they're and things that they're receiving all the time, it gets very confusing. But it's okay to be pulled back to just yourself, and it's not selfish. It's um it's healthy, and it's healthy for even your relationship with whoever you're worried about, or maybe whoever you feel like you're their protector. So it's just kind of been our dynamic forever. It's just kind of strange that like I've always just kind of, yeah, felt like I had to take care of her energetically and spiritually, not even physically, because she was always fine. But it's just, yeah, just to remind kids that they have the power over their own emotions and their own energy. And that's not taught enough, I don't think. And I think a lot of adults
right.
need it too.
I needed you. Where were you
I
when I
know.
was in first grade and I didn't have anybody that understood me? Where were you?
I know, right?
But I feel like, and what you guys out there don't know is Chrissy is a Gemini, so her and her identical twin are Geminis, and it's almost like they took on the two roles of the Gemini. Chrissy was the nurturing mother hen, and your sister was, I don't know what to call it, but the troubled one that needed help all the time.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I'm a mother and she's not, like by choice she's not, and like just I don't know, we kind of fell into those roles, but um it's just, yeah, to remind kids that they're in control, they set the
Yeah,
rules, and it's as simple as that. Like just teaching your kids that like they're in control of their emotions and their energy, but maybe instead of approaching it as emotions, like telling kids that yeah, they're in charge of their energy and that they set the rules for their energy. um, because emotions are the reaction to the energy, not actually like sometimes we don't really have control over them because we're energetically influenced. So if you just teach them about their energy and just making sure it's like it's theirs and that they're controlling it and that they have that power, because kids do feel
yeah.
so powerless so much in their life.
Yeah, because there's a difference between energy and emotions. It's the kids need to understand that it's okay to feel emotions, but understand that that emotion does not define them in their entire life, that they need to figure out and understand why they're feeling that emotion, what's making you feel that emotion, so you can really like not debunk it, but understand it and learn from it so you can grow and move on,
Right.
and not have to feel that again in that exact way.
Right. And the same way that we're talking about energy is the exact same way that you can teach your kid to interact with spirit. Like if they're seeing spirits around, tell them that they have the control. Be like, you're not allowed to come in here. Or like, you're not welcome here. Or I don't want to see you anymore. Like they have that control. They have that power. So if it's not necessarily just around their emotions, but it's around their environment, their surroundings, their experiences, their spiritual experiences, that they don't have to let a spirit communicate with them if they're not comfortable. They don't have to open up conversation or have these like daily, weekly, monthly experiences with spirits, that they have the same control over the spirit as they have about their own spirit, like their own energy.
Yeah. Um, so I wanted to mention and share with everyone an experience I had. It's my first memory of astral traveling, and I thought that it was really interesting to share with you guys. And it was a really cool experience for me. And this reoccurred for me throughout elementary school. But my first time I remember having a dream like this, I was 3-year-old little girl with the pacifier in my mouth in my crib bed, waking up thinking, wow, like I wasn't thinking too much, but I was thinking, wow, that was an experience. But basically, the dream was always the same. And it was me flying in space, just me, myself, my body flying through space, flying past the stars, the planets, black holes, supernovas, stars exploding, even like it was just. Let me just say that at such a young age, it was very scary because in the dreams, in astral travel dreams, you can feel things. And I remember thinking that I was flying I'm flying in space like Superman, right? And then I started having human thoughts like, what if I fall? Or what's underneath me? Or what's holding me in the sky and keeping me from falling? And it's weird to even
Oh gosh.
have those kind of thoughts at that young of an age, but those are the things that I would think, and it would scare me really bad. But then as I got older into elementary school, we had like this big toy on the playground. They called it the big toy, and it was just like this, thing with monkey bars and all this stuff on it. And I would have the same recurring dream all throughout elementary school that I would climb up to the top of the big toy and put my arms out and look over all the kids on the playground and just jump and just fly around above the playground and just looking down at everyone. And I'm not even really sure what that dream was really supposed to mean, but I had it a lot. And I just felt like it was my higher self trying to open me up to things beyond myself that I didn't understand. Maybe it was the beginning of my soul waking me up to who I was at a soul level, because my soul knew it was going to take all this time to me now to figure it out. You know what I mean? So you got to start somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like that dream is like almost a validation for you that like you are different and that you do see the world from a different angle view from the other kids. And it's like such a kid way to explain it to you because like your higher self knew I can't like send some like, person to tell you this or some spirit to tell you this because that might freak you out, but to have you kind of have that experience and like kind of have the symbolism of like you flying around and like that you're seeing everything differently. It's like that like what you're experiencing is real and that you are different and that's okay.
Right. And I kind of wonder too, like, because it scared me flying around after a few to, I don't know. I'm going to say I stopped having that dream around like fourth grade. So after that few years or whatever, I guess my own fear shut things down and I stopped astral traveling as much or as I don't even know how to say. I wasn't jumping off things and flying through space or the sky anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah, because
Um,
like you were growing up and it was like, yeah, your messages were getting more mature with you, you know?
yeah, and also I was taking in things outside of myself that, oh, these things, it's just a dream. It doesn't mean anything. It's just pretend. It's just your brain making things up while you're sleeping, to fill in the gaps or whatever people were believing about dreams back then, you know? And I'm the perfect example of I let other people's reality affect my own. I let other people's beliefs affect my own because I was so young. I thought that anything an adult told me was the truth because they were an adult and they
Yeah,
knew and I didn't.
I thought
And
the
that
same
sure
thing.
was not the case.
Yep, I know. And it's like, yeah, and now being an adult, now you realize like no one knows what they're doing. We're all just kind of
Yeah,
just like trying our best, I hope, you know? And yeah,
right.
and like then other times I'm like, I kind of miss like being a kid and just like, oh, just having an adult tell you what to believe and what to think because there's so much more than I was ever taught before, you know? Just like you kind of open up that Pandora's box and it's just like, oh, you can't put that back. So now it's like onward. But yeah, as like a kid, you that's another thing that like you're out of control, like you don't have control over your own beliefs or and like even validations for your own experiences because if the adult didn't share the experience, they dismissed it. And that's why I just always say, like, when your kid has an experience, like, the most important thing to do is just to listen. And whether you believe them or not, just listen. And like, the message of their experience or the reason for their experience might not make sense today, but say in a year, 5 years, or maybe that's something that they will reflect on when they're older, that it will make sense for something that they needed to experience for their own growth. You don't want to shut it down. You just want to listen and let them know that you believe them. Like because you don't want to mistakenly label your child as a liar because then they'll become a liar. And so if you tell them that they're lying about their real experiences for them, they like we become our labels in some ways, especially as kids. So I don't know. I just think it's so important just to sit and listen. If you don't even know what to say, as a funeral director, I always even my husband, I tell him this all the time, less is more. You don't have to have the answers. Just being there as a support is enough. And just listening is
Absolutely.
enough. And so when someone's grieving or you just don't know what to say to someone in a certain situation, listen, shut up, and just less is more.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And, I am absolutely guilty of being that parent that ignored my psychic child cry for help, so to speak, because, and, anyone that knows me knows that I had drug problems and I gave up my child to my mother and my stepfather when he was almost 4 years old. And so I raised him from the time he was born until he was just before 4 years old. And then my mom and stepdad took him. And, um, everything is meant to be the way it's meant to be, right? But I just had to put that out there because once he went and stayed with them, I didn't have as much access to him anymore. But I feel horrible that before that, he came to me several times as a little 2 and 3 year old baby, telling me that he was having experiences with ghosts. But at that young of an age, he didn't know to call it a ghost. He didn't know to use that terminology. You know what I mean? So he was saying things to me like, Mommy, I couldn't sleep last night because of the two men and the woman at my window talking to me. They wouldn't leave me alone. We live in the middle of the country. What do you mean there was two men and a lady at your window in the middle of the night? No, there wasn't, and I totally disregarded all of it. Him telling me, and a lot of it was ghosts of people visiting him playing with him in his room, talking to him, spending time with him. I think it was great grandparents and ancestors, because he was born so very open to psychic abilities. And that's something that we didn't mention yet in this video. Being born already open to psychic abilities, even if it's only a smidge or a lot or anything in between, you're open to all energies and psychic attacks from lower vibrational energies that you don't even understand exist because you're too young to even know about it, you know? And
Yeah.
I think that really, like, that's something that people need to understand, the true yin and yang of the planet and the way it works. It all works through energy. Everything is energy. And there's good energy and there's bad energy. And you could call it low vibrational or high vibrational, however you want to
The
label it, but it's
positive or
all,
negative. Yeah.
thank you. It's all the same thing. That's what yin and yang is. And it's true and it exists. And I think that a lot of people are like, oh, yin and yang's just some like Chinese stuff or something. It's like, no, it's so much more than that. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
It's the
Like as a
balance of the
kid,
universe.
I would have been like, oh, I think yin and yang's like some Chinese symbol for something. I don't know, like way back in the, early 90s or something.
Right. Yeah.
It was like it was talking about energy, and it always was for me. I don't know the actual legit meaning, but I know the most of it.
Yeah, I bought
But
a I bought a yin yang ring from like Claire's when I was in fifth grade, and my dad was like horrified. 'Cause he thought it was a sexual thing, like the female, male kind of.
he
He
thought
was
I
like,
said
"You
it to him
can't."
69.
Yeah, and I was like, I had that was one track mind though, but like I had no idea. I thought it was just like,
Hilarious.
yeah, I just
People thought that back then. Now that you said that, that
yeah,
just
that was like
reminded me.
I'm like, I got it at Claire's on clearance for like $1. I think I still have it actually. And it's just kind of funny because it just makes me laugh every time I see it because it's the balance of the universe. But yeah, the balance is male, female. It's positive, negative, light, dark, So yeah.
Yeah, and Tyler was opened up to reading energies and what are spirits, guys? They're energy, okay? What's our spirit? It's made out of energy, right? So when you're when you're born as a psychic child already opened, you are able to pick up on energies around you that other people aren't. And that's why babies, especially like Tyler at that young of an age, was seeing all of those ghosts. They looked like real, full people to him. They were entirely there. They were not see-through and transparent. They looked physical, real, solid. And it's because he didn't know to shut it down. Little babies don't know, oh, this is scary, I should shut this down, or oh my gosh, that's a ghost, yikes. They don't know that, so that's why they're able to see past on relatives and great grandparents and ancestors coming through. And I really think that's what was going on with Tyler. He's just in his room always talking up a storm, and I would go in there, I'd be like, hey honey, what are you doing? And, oh, I'm just playing with so and so. And I'm like, who? And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I didn't even know I was psychic back then like that.
Yeah, Milo had very similar experiences when he was younger. Like, whenever he was about one, his great grandpa died, Milo, so we call him Big Milo because that's who he was named after. And 6 months later, his great grandma died, and
Oh,
just loved them. They were sweet people. I only knew them for a short time because I was new to like the family and everything. And when he was maybe two, he kept having experiences like these two people were in my room and it was definitely them. But I think when kids have those experiences when they're young, when it's a loved one, like a family member, and that they don't have that like fear and they're not trying to be like scared. I think it's because the family members are sent there knowing that this kid is psychically open, that baby's psychically open to protect them because they are open to negative energies, especially at nighttime when you're dreaming and just the night just leaves us open more. Then there's like the witching hour and stuff that they're our ancestors, our loved ones would come and protect our children while they were sleeping or in the night just for those energies because they didn't want any negative energy coming through. And I was the same thing. I wanted to dismiss it. I caught myself like thankfully I caught myself because I didn't want him to be scared and feed the fear, but he wasn't really scared. He was just kind of confused. Like, I keep seeing these two people in my room at night. And he would end up, he learned his alphabet so fast. Like he knew things that like I didn't even work with him. And like I don't think any of his like kid TV shows were teaching him. I truly feel like he had like, yeah,
Like,
like
did he learn that from Dora?
yeah, like how did he learn some of this stuff? But it's also as a parent, you have to remember that like this is your kid's experience. It's not yours. It's not for you. It's not for you to interpret. It's not for you to experience. It's for them to experience for a purpose, for a reason, and that you need to respect that. This is, just be grateful that they're sharing it with you. Not to like shut it down because you don't understand it because it's not meant for you. It's meant for them. And just to kind of keep that mentality and just yeah, ask questions to get more information. Like, how did you feel? What did they say? Like there's helpful questions to ask to help kids to kind of validate their own story because in their head when they share it, like at least my son, he was always like, this happened. Like he was like kind of confused, but like I was just happy that he felt comfortable coming to me. And I'm just so grateful I caught myself early because I'm like, no, wait, I'm not doing the same thing that my parents did to me. I'm like, this is real. And psychically, and I knew it was real, but it's just as a parent, it's jarring at first. But like feel your feelings about it and then get rid of them because they don't matter in that situation. It's about your kid and their experience and how to continue to make this a positive experience and a protected one as well.
Right. And, hey guys, I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. Chrissy and I are opposites when it comes to that because she was there for her child and I wasn't. I was very selfish as a parent and I was more concerned about what I was doing next than listening to my child try to tell me about seeing these dead people in his room, and all these other things that were going on, monsters in his closet and all kinds of craziness. And instead of trying to understand him, listen to him, hear him out, I just chose to be selfish and just tell him it was nonsense. It's make believe. You're just your imagination's running wild, all the things parents tell their kids when your kid calls you in the room and says there's a monster under my bed or in my closet. Well, maybe there was. Okay, maybe it was something spiritual and they felt it. It doesn't just because you look in the closet and they're like, there's nothing there, go back to bed. That doesn't mean you solve the problem, and I am definitely guilty of doing that as a parent. But a lot of us are, you know what I mean? Because we really didn't think that it was the truth. We really didn't believe that our kids actually saw a monster in the closet. Oh, that's nonsense. That's make believe. You know what I mean? But hey, being a psychic medium, there is nothing I haven't seen.
Right.
Okay.
And
So
also,
monsters are real.
yeah, monsters are real, but also sometimes angels can look like monsters.
That's
And
right.
we might not understand what they're saying or what they're seeing or what they saw. They might not be able to relay it to us, but yeah, it's just validating it for them is so important and just yeah, just listening.
It is. And I hope I don't sound crazy. I'm not saying tell your kids monsters are real. I'm definitely not saying that.
No,
I'm
that's
just
not what I
saying
know.
that, listen to them, hear them out. They're sitting there freaking out, bawling their eyes out about this monster in the closet. Well, maybe sit with them for 10 freaking minutes.
Yeah.
What's the big deal? Sit with them for 10 minutes, calm them down, do what they need you to do. Like one night, I saw spiders crawling all over everything in my room. And all I wanted my dad to do was turn my light on for 1 second so that I could see that there were no spiders everywhere. And I knew that I would have been okay. And he absolutely refused to just flick the light on for 1 second. You know what I mean? Like it would have been like, it would have like solved everything and I could have just been okay and went back to sleep. But he didn't view it that way. You know what I mean? He was looking at things from a different perspective and thought
Right.
if he turned the light on, then I'd want to wake up more and get out of bed because I was like 6 years old or something, But it's like, hey, if your kid's like, please just turn the light on for 1 minute, just do it for him,
Just
because
do it. Yeah.
it could change everything. You just don't know.
Yeah, and it's also so much healthier. Like that builds trust with them with you. I mean, if every time you talk to your parent about something that you're experiencing that's so real to you, they shut it down, or they want to accuse you of lying, or they want to take you to the doctor. It's like sometimes just listening is the best way. And they might even have messages and guidance for you, that they might be like your like telephone line to the other side if you're closed off to a lot of things. You might have something that they're trying to tell you that's important. Yeah, just there's so much, like I could even like, this is like a hard topic just to like keep on track because
I
there's so
know
much
there's
to
so
say about
much.
it. And yeah, you just never know where their information's coming from and why. And just that, like, we're so pre-programmed to run to like Google or Siri that oh,
Yeah.
that
She'll hear you.
yeah, it's like that, like, to get the answers for like what our kids might be experiencing. But sometimes it literally is just taking 10 minutes just to sit with them and kind of try to feel what they're feeling or understand what they're experiencing or just validating what they're experiencing, because you
Yeah.
want to just ask yourself or teach them to ask themselves for the clarity and listen. You don't need to listen to the internet. You don't need to listen to other people's experiences all the time. You don't need to listen to the clinical reasons for these things. Sometimes it's just in that experience, just ask and listen, and you have the answers within you. You know more than Google does.
Right. And I'm glad you said that because one of the most powerful ways to heal someone is to listen to them and make them feel heard, make them feel understood. As a healer myself, that's one of my superpowers. I'm really good at listening to people. I'm really good at resonating with people and making them feel like I truly understand what they are feeling, where they're coming from. And some people don't realize that that is such a simple way to heal another person. You
Yeah.
know, and I started using that as a tactic to heal Tyler because I abandoned him as a mother. His father abandoned him. So he had all of that going on. And then he had all of these ghosts visiting him, monsters in his closet, weird experiences psychically. Who could he talk to about it? He had no one to talk to. So as he got older, living at my mom's, I went over there all the time. I practically lived there. I was there so much. And I would always get some alone time with him away from everyone else so he could feel comfortable in that space, in that moment, to share with me about the monster in his closet, about the people talking to him at his window, about the voices in his head, and all of that stuff because I wanted him to feel like he wasn't crazy. He wasn't weird and different in a bad way. He was experiencing things that other kids his age don't necessarily all experience that way. And I think that it really helped him open up more to the fact that he had psychic abilities. And then after a while, guys, it got to a point where he started coming to me on his own. Mommy, guess what? I saw another spirit. I did this. I did that. I tapped into this. I did a reading for this girl on the school bus. I read her palm. I tapped into her dead grandma. And I'm just like, wow, like I didn't think I was doing anything. But now looking back, I know that just me listening to him was all that needed to be done. And I never knew it. And now looking back, it's like, oh my gosh. So guess what, parents? Heads up. Listening is like the number one thing. And it's so easy to do. We always want to give our adult 2 cents or governing, because we're the parents and everything. But it's like, hey, sometimes just let the kid talk and just hear them, make them feel heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like we really want to have like healthy relationships with our children, and that's the best way to support them is with their experiences, and just that's what unconditional love is. Like I have a kind of a rocky relationship with my mom. My dad's been passed, so we also had a rocky relationship because I didn't trust them. And I couldn't trust them to to support me with these experiences I was having in a haunted house that eventually everyone ended up having experiences. So that, like, even starting in second grade, I learned early that I can't trust adults and I couldn't trust my parents. And I couldn't trust even confiding in other people because I would get made fun of or judged. So like I held a lot in on my own, which was not healthy, but and also for a kid, like who like it came out in other ways. And even I had a lot of anxiety. My anxiety was based around like my sister, just maybe like worried about her, but I also had like kids do have like past life experiences that they're still kind of like traumas that they might be digesting or healing from, because I must have died in a house fire whenever I was in a past life, because as a kid I would literally stay up all night long making sure my house wasn't my family was safe, my house didn't catch on fire. We lived in like a brick
Oh,
house, and like it was like not the but like it was such a fear of mine. There was like not a threat of fire anywhere, but I was just it was like a past life fear, I swear, a past life anxiety. And I would get like punished for being up all night, but I'm like, or I'd, they'd wake up, I'm on the couch sleeping. It's like, why again, but it's like, why again? Not why as the like, what's the problem? It's like, what happened? And if someone would just approach me differently, because like I catch myself with my son, maybe I'm too ask him too many questions now, but like it would have been so nice to be able to share that, because I mean, this even just doing this podcast alone, it's brought up a lot for me, just memory wise, of like, oh wow, I did experience that, or that is how things happened, or and it's been very healing, but also just giving me like a different perspective on how I want to be moving forward, because I want to be a compassionate person. I want to be a good listener. And I do want to share and help heal people through my experiences so another kid doesn't have to feel this way. And I mean, I just, there's not very many people I really trust, because I learned not to trust very young. And I mean, I would, if my son felt the way I feel about my parents, I would be devastated. So I just want to make sure I build that like trusting, loving, unconditional loving, like kind of relationship, because just not listening makes kids feel unheard, unloved. It all kind of wraps together, because their emotions are in a ball and their thoughts are always like in a ball. Like kids don't have just like the ability to file their emotions and their thoughts and their feelings like adults do, because a lot of adults still don't know how to. I always joke with you, Melanie.
right.
I'm like, there are certain children's books I swear adults need to read, because you can learn so much from a kid's book, because it
Yeah.
takes you back to the
Take it back
basics.
to the basics, baby.
Yeah.
You need to start over.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I might have to make a children's book list for, adults, but um
Right.
yeah, and just like ones that I'd be reading to my son at night, I'd be like, I know someone else, I know a grown up that needs to read this, or I know like
I
my
will co-write that book with you.
yeah. So it's like the adult children's book, but it just, yeah, I know from my own experience that I lost trust, and I lost even the sense of security in the adults in my life, because I wasn't being validated or listened to. And just want to kind of share that, because I would just hate for another family to experience what mine did. And also, like, I don't want to parent out of trauma. I want to parent out of love. So I don't want to
Yeah.
overcompensate. So I really do catch myself making sure I'm not like, tell me everything all the time. It's like,
Yeah. And, going with what you're saying, it's a little bit off topic of the psychic kids thing, but you made me remember when I was like 3 years old. I have a lot of 3-year-old memories.
yeah.
My dad was in the bathroom getting ready for a Halloween party. He was Dracula and he was putting makeup on his face and like blood or, white or whatever. And he was so concerned about getting ready for this party and going to have a good time that I was trying to talk to him and he was ignoring me, which is what most parents do. And it's 4:44. And I started making up words that I knew weren't real and using them in sentences while I was talking to him, trying to see if he would be like, that's not a word. Or, hey, you knew a big word there, right? And or I was like 4 because I was talking. And he was just like, uh-huh, yeah, that's great, honey. Okay, honey, watch out. Daddy got to get through. And it just like, you made me think of that. Like, parents don't realize we ignore our kids so much that by the time they get to teenage years, they've already decided that, well, they don't listen anyway. So why bother talking to them? So maybe that's why a lot of teenagers don't talk to their parents,
Yeah, it's like
you
if you
know,
don't
because they feel
listen to
like, well,
the
they're not
small
going to listen anyway.
yeah. And I've always heard the thing like if you don't listen to the small things, they're not going to tell you the big things. Um, just like another point, even like looking back, like even reflecting on like this topic, a lot of times even kids, like the ones that aren't being heard, they do act out because kids want attention, whether it's positive or negative. And sometimes the negative attention that kids are yearning or that act out on because they're yearning for that attention, um, you need to teach kids to like forgive themselves because it's okay like and how to forgive themselves because a lot of times you'll carry that like maybe I wasn't so nice to this person or I broke this toy or I stole that thing just as like attention or just to kind of test even your environment. I think it's really important to like teach kids that forgiving themselves is an option because I think a lot of kids growing up, especially ones that are ignored or might have psychic abilities, but they're not being nurtured or helped to be like maintained, that like they might do things out of confusion or just emotion. And that, yeah, just I think a lot of like even teaching now, I try to teach a lot of adults that forgiveness is possible for yourself. You can forgive yourself. You can forgive and move on. Like forgive, but remember the lessons that you learned with those mistakes. But kids aren't told that as much, that like forgiveness is not an option for them, that they have to forgive others, but there's very few times I hear people like telling their kids that they can forgive themselves for what's happened or what they've done, or even thoughts that they've had, or yeah, just if they were maybe mean to like a girl for because other kids were, doesn't mean you have to be a bully forever. It's like you can forgive yourself and move on.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Yeah. And that totally makes me think about how I oftentimes found comfort in listening to the voice in my head, which is your higher self. We all have that. And like at a very, very young age, the voice in my head keeping me comforted because I was 5 years younger than my older brother. So I didn't have anybody to play with when I was really little. So I played by myself, you know? And when you're really young, your parents are busy doing adult stuff. So they don't have time to sit there and read book after book after book after book all day long nonstop because my mom was she had to prepare 3 meals for us all every day and then clean up the dishes in the kitchen afterwards and vacuum and clean bathrooms and like she had stuff to do and my dad was always gone at work, and it's like I really found comfort in my higher self, which is kind of like finding comfort in a guardian angel or a passed on loved one. It's the same thing. And again, it's all energy and just really tuning into your own personal psychic connection with yourself, because I consider that a psychic connection, don't you?
Oh, totally. Like my favorite thing, like I just turned 40 this year, but I just my one thing that I was like, oh no, I'm an old person now is because when I drive in the car by myself, I turn the radio
Hey, hey,
off.
hey, hey, I'm older than you.
I
Calm down.
know. I'm like, I'm an old person now because I like to drive in silence, but that silence is like when I get a lot of like meditation and I get a lot of messages. But like the first time I caught myself driving with the radio off, I'm like, oh man, that's old people stuff. But I do
Dude,
try to
I
teach
tried so
Milo to
hard.
have
I
like,
laughed so loud and obnoxious, and I was trying to laugh quietly, but I am dying over here. That was
I
hilarious.
know.
Um,
I figured you'd find that funny. Just
I
like
swear, that was something like my grandfather did. Like he would drive in silence, and I thought it was weird
so it's
because
so weird.
My parents always put the radio on in the car and blasted. Well, my dad blasted it.
Yep.
My
Oh, I
mom
used to
wouldn't
love to
turn up
blast
loud,
it.
but
Well, maybe the music even changed. It's not really my music anymore or something, but like, yeah, just the radio goes off or I just go silent. And then I also try to teach Milo that like there's like healing in silence. There's so many distractions all day long. It's okay, like, even the 20 minutes before bed to have silence. Like, don't fall asleep to a TV show or music or like anything. Just like have that time to be able to teach your kid that to sit in silence because that only
yes,
grows character, that makes you feel whole again. You don't know what kind of messages they might get for themselves and like and when you talk higher self, like your conscience will tell you like messages that you might not hear because there's so much noise drowning it out. So just
yeah,
kids to have silent time is so important. Like even in school, if they had like, maybe homeroom instead of having it be chaos and everyone's trying to catch up on stuff, have 5 minutes of just silence every day. I think that would really help kids set their
yes.
energy and like and yeah, have a chance to kind of, just be whole.
Yeah, that just reminded me too. One of the times back in the day that I was in a rehab for my drug problem, they treated us like kids in high school. We had books for classes. We had to go walk to this building for this class and that building for that class. Like in high school, we had gym, we had meditation. And I thought that it was amazing that they did that and they should be doing this in schools.
Yeah.
So what they did is halfway through our day, they halfway through like the morning after we had a few classes and stuff, we would go in for meditation. 15 minutes of a guided meditation with the lady that also did gym with us. Beautiful woman, her name was Patty. Still love her to this day. She would just do a guided meditation while we all just laid around the room and got comfortable. You didn't have to lay down. You could sit or lay however you are comfortable. Close your eyes, relax. She would start with a breathing exercise to get us relaxed. And then she would just do a guided 15-minute, 10-minute meditation. And we would all get up and be like, we feel amazing. Gosh, like I'm serious. Like that little bit of time in that meditation was like life changing. And then we could go to the rest of our classes and the rest of our day feeling amazing. And it was because we were grounded, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's like recharging. Well, one easy meditation I like to teach kids. I was the committee member of our Cub Scout troop in our old neighborhood. And
Hey,
and so of course I had to work meditation into it. I think it was like the first time that happened in our what Cub Scout pack. And so I would always start off because like it was kids all different ages. Everyone just their friends are there. They just all want to be like crazy. No one wants to listen. So, and I have a voice that kids ignore easily. But whenever I would do my meditation with them, they all loved it. They would sit, they would just be, just be attentive to what, because I think they enjoyed the feeling the meditation gave them.
they were
So,
all for it
yeah, so
because
I
that
think
energy felt
they
so
like
good.
really look forward to it. So I'll just go over what the meditation was because it only takes a couple minutes. Um, I just call it the five senses meditation, and it just brings you back to like you. And it's like you close your eyes, and I always say, like, what do you see in like your mind's eye? So some kids will say nothing, some kids will have color, some kids will actually have like visions or like maybe a memory of their day, or they're thinking of their parents. So they say their parents. So then I say, well, what do you smell? And of course it'd be like someone's feet or someone, but like, but we'd also do this like in like the Cub Scout room. And sometimes I'd even take them outside just to start because it's like, oh, the fall air or the summer grass or whatever it like was happening at that time. Sometimes there's like, I smell the snack, can't wait for the snack later. But like, so you just go through the five senses, like, what do you see? What do you smell? What do you taste? And then what do you feel? And if we're outside, it'd be like the cool air or the sun, or even if you just feel the warm sweater that you're wearing, or it could be anything. And so wait, see, taste, yeah, smell, taste, touch, and what do you hear? And it's like, well, I hear your voice, of course. And or it's like, well, I
Or a
hear
bird
traffic or I
chirping
hear
or an
birds.
airplane.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's just for every kid, it was a different experience of what they were like hearing and seeing and tasting and smelling. And it was just for kids, it was just they thought it was like a game, but it was like a meditation just to kind of calm them down, bring them back to themselves, and just yeah, it was very helpful. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that from the parents, but like at first they were just like meditation, we don't want this. Like this isn't for us. But I'm like it's just we're going over the five senses, so we'll just think of it that way. But that was like so
Yeah.
helpful.
That's actually so great, Chrissy, for the little kids. Because if you take a bunch of first graders and try to put them through a 15-minute guided meditation, they're going to all fall asleep and take a nap, probably.
Yes. Or just like
So
start fighting each other.
your meditation is perfect for the little ones because it keeps them attentive and present
hmm
during the meditation.
And I would say
So
like
that's excellent.
in the beginning when it like whenever the beginning of like the season or the year, I guess, because the year was different, kids would always goof off and like always want to say funny stuff. But like I would say, so that's probably like August, September. By like November, December, everyone just took it like serious or just like look forward to it. And then they just, it was quiet. But it did take maybe like a month of doing it, or maybe, oh, yeah, probably like four different tries for like them to really start understanding and feeling it. But I'm like, that wasn't for me to tell them how to feel and how to behave. They had to figure it out and they had to do the feeling. And like, then they would see one kid that was like, oh, wow, that was crazy. Or like another, as they started seeing their peers having experiences or calming down or just really enjoying it, then they all started to.
Oh,
We're just easily influenced
it
by
was a
the people
ripple
around us.
effect,
Yep, ripple effect
the
for
trickle
sure.
down.
Yep. And
That is
normally it kind of
so
started with the
awesome.
smaller kids would be into it more than the older kids because it wasn't cool. But then it became like cool. I don't know. So
Yeah, and then once they got too old for that style meditation is when they should go into the like 15 minutes of just listening to someone guiding the meditation,
yeah, I
you
would say
know?
sleep meditation because that's an easy one for like just to start with guided meditation is like a 10-minute sleep one or being or preparing for sleep. That's a good way to like kind of get like I'd say like the next level of meditation for kids. And then
Yeah.
one like during the day or like, a set time during the day where there's a before and then after, not just like meditation and sleep. It's like before dinner or after practice, like just to kind of, or even teach them to do shower meditations. I love doing a meditation
Oh,
in the
yeah.
shower.
Yeah, me
So just,
too. I always
yeah,
listen to something while I'm in the shower,
yeah. And kids can
you
bring their
know?
phones on the bus, get them headphones, and they can just do a little like energy meditation on the bus because the bus is crazy energy there, or,
I
right when
spent
they
a
get home
lot of
from
time on the
school.
bus living in the country. I had long bus rides home.
Me too. Mine and I want to say middle school is like a half an hour, but once I went to intermediate school, which is like pre-high school, it was an hour long, an hour.
Yeah. I had a 45-minute bus ride when we lived on this farm in Chatham. And oh man, I hated school so much. It's like now I got to sit on the bus for this long.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, they should at least have like pillows or something. No.
Right.
But like,
But
yeah,
also, too, I wanted to bring up the fact that it's interesting how we're talking about all this meditation stuff. Don't we already incorporate some form of meditation in preschools and stuff when we take the kids take a nap?
yeah. But yeah, but
And
that
then
that
and then it
ends.
stops after preschool. Oh, no more naps, no more breaks, no more
Yeah.
timeouts to regain our energy and strength to finish the day.
Right. And like kindergarten's full day now. I mean, at least in our area. So these
Oh, it was half a
kindergartners,
day when I went, and I couldn't have handled a full day. I'll
yeah, it
tell
was
you that
half day
much.
for me too. I know, right?
Yeah,
But
I
yeah, but as like a parent, I was like, I'm not ready for him to be gone all day, but then you get used to it really quick.
yeah.
But, but yeah, they don't have any extra like like support in that way. And,
Yeah, like why do preschool kids get to take a nap and have a break and rest? But the older the kids get, the more going on at school, the more they need an energy cleanse to you know, reground themselves so that they can focus on all of the information being thrown at them,
yeah.
you know, like
Well,
all them different subjects and everything.
yeah,
Geez, it's a lot.
they're pulled in every direction and like
Yeah.
they're around so many different people. It just, but
And then
on
on
my
top
way
of it, trying to fit in with their peers and everything, that's a whole nother, you know?
that's yeah, they're being influenced in so many ways. And yeah, just being like, if you know your teacher doesn't like you necessarily, or favors this person, or you worked really hard on a project and you got a bad grade, like that's all just like stuff that can bring your energy and your vibration down, and it's
Yeah.
hard for a kid to bring it up. And I just think, yeah, meditation and it just could really help with like depression, like even just violence and bullying. And there could be so many positive things to it, but
I
until
think that it
yeah,
could help downsize bullying.
yeah,
So maybe the kids that are doing the bullying need the meditation more than the other kids, and it could really help them get their energy back together and shed off whatever negativity they are carrying that is forcing them to bully and project, you
yeah.
know?
And if you're being bullied, how to learn to disconnect your energy from the person who's bullying you, because their target's on you because their energy's on you. And so before I like when I take Milo to school every morning, do you want me to share what we do?
Yeah.
Okay, so first we do like a surround, ground, and shield, which is what's her name?
Dolores Cannon.
No, oh my gosh, it'll come to me. But I learned surround, ground, and shield from her, but like a lot of people have like a very similar thing. So we go surrounds me in a bubble of God's pure white light, ground me to the center of the earth, and shield me with a vest of armor. So the visual is like surrounding in a bubble of light. Grounding is like rods going from your feet and like your tailbone into the center of the earth. And then the shielding is putting a shield of protection. I always do like a vest of protection, like a almost like a armor
A
that
foolproof
covers up your
vest.
solar plexus. So your energy source, like your solar plexus, is covered from protected from anybody else's energy. And then we say, I call back my energy, my power from every person, place, or thing in this lifetime, in this universe, or in this galaxy or any other. I call back my energy, my power, clean and recalibrated, and only belonging to me. So it's just calling back our energy. But before you call your energy back, you want to clean it, you want to recalibrate it. So you're calling back positive, high vibrational energy from the light, not from whatever source you're getting it from that had it. So if someone's negative, you don't want to call back your energy from a negative person without cleaning it, recalibrating it, so it comes back to you whole. And then we always go like this, like I disconnect any energy that does not belong to me and is no longer serving my highest good. I disconnect any energy, any cords, or any hooks, and I send them away from me with love and compassion. So you can send away from you, you can send back to the source, you can send to the center of the earth to be recalibrated and sent into, you can kind of make it your own, but that's what we say, just so we're disconnecting other people's energy and we're calling back ours and we're protecting us. That's our go-to, but then we also do a little bit of extra. We always say like, good morning, God, good morning, guardian angels, good morning, Jesus. Thank you for helping us have a positive, protected, successful, fun-loving day. Um, Only good things happen to me. I'm worthy of the best. I effortlessly attract wealth and abundance today and every day in a positive way. Um, Everything always works out in my favor. I choose to live in heaven. Today is a great day. Isn't it wonderful? And so it is. Thank you. Amen. So that's like our little like
Nice.
side prayer, because it kind of covers everything and it takes
Yeah.
a minute to say everything, because we want to attract positivity, but we also want to just know that whatever's happening in our day is working for us, not against us. And yeah, just that we choose to live in heaven. So we live a beautiful life because we choose to live a beautiful life. And I think, yeah, so many people choose not to live in heaven, and that's why a lot of like uh maybe bad things or negative things seem to like happen to them. But also sometimes those negative things are working in your favor, and it's just a good way to remind yourself that everything works out in my favor, because even if I might not make a team, it's because I'm meant to play this sport, or you just never know what the universe has
Yeah.
in store for you. So it's just a nice reminder to know that, like, even if I'm having a bad day, it's still a good day because it's working in my favor. So those, yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's what we go over. And if anyone wants me to like type it up, I have it like in my email, because I have shared this with a lot of people. Because a lot of people I talk to have kids that struggle energetically, and they just never realized what it was until I brought it to their attention. So I've
Yeah.
emailed that out to a bunch of different people. So
Aw,
yeah,
that's
I
so
can,
awesome, Chrissy.
yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I have a quick little one that I can share too. This one I use every day, all the time. It's really easy and really simple and really quick. And like Chrissy, I do hand gestures in my things because it adds to it. Okay. You want to speak things out, be direct, be heard, be seen, that kind of stuff. But this is just a quick energy cleansing ritual. And what I do is I call back my energy from everyone and everything. And I say, I call back all of my energy from everyone and everything that I have tapped into today, unconsciously or consciously, blessed and transmuted. You have to remember to bless and transmute that energy, like Chrissy was saying. You don't want to call back yucky energy to yourself. You want to cleanse it first. I repeat that 3 times, the magic of 3. It's very powerful. And I hold my palm. Oh, I was off screen. I hold my palms out, but like this, because I am welcoming in my energy and I am receiving it. We receive things through the palms of our hands, right? And then I say, I send back everyone and everything's energy, blessed and transmuted, that does not belong to me. And I say that 3 times. And sometimes I hold my hands facing this way when I do it, and sometimes I do it this way. So it's really up to you, the kind of hand gestures you want to add to your little rituals, prayers, meditations, clearings, cleansings, whatever you want to call it. There's all kinds of labels, but basically it's just, we have energetic health we have to keep up with. It's not just medical health and physical health and all of that. We have energy and energetic health that needs to be tended to. And when your
Yeah.
energy is unhealthy, you are unhealthy,
Yes, and
right?
like
So,
energy is the first one we should be, it's the easiest one, but it's also the first one that we should be taken care of, because that's where our source of our health and everything else comes from. Like everything stems from our energy. So protect your energy, teach your kids to do the same. We say it every morning, and I always tell Milo, I'm like, say it after school, because you're leaving that all that energy behind. So you have to do it in the morning and like do it after school. And it takes a minute to say, and you can come up
yeah,
with your own. This is just like guidelines of what to say, or Google your own, or see what comes to you in meditation, or just, you know, it doesn't, it's not, there's not a right or wrong. It's about the intention and behind what you're asking. And it's just, yeah,
yeah.
make sure you're
And making
thorough.
up your own is very powerful because you created it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And
Like I
it's
took
special to
mine
what you
from some
feel.
girl on YouTube because when she said that's what she does and was like, hey, you guys should do this too, I thought I really resonated with it and I liked it. But I do other things as well. That's just my most popular one that I do every day. It's quick,
Yeah.
it's easy, and it's efficient. It
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. And
All you
that's
gotta
like,
do is believe in it.
yeah, that's the basics. Like just, yeah, just kind of start your day. Even you can, like, we say it on our way to school, but usually because our mornings are a little stressful. So it's like, we're always running a little bit late. So it's like, okay, we'll start over in the car. But like you can say it before you even get out of bed, and just like start your day completely, like, with that cleanse. But yeah, we usually need it on the car ride there.
Yeah, and it's good at the end of the day too to kind of clear up anything you've picked up, been around, endured, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if you do it right before bed, it's great because you can even set an intention for your dreams or for your sleeping. I love to do that. Just like, thank you for giving me like a message in my dreams, or, like make,
I always ask
guidance.
for knowledge and wisdom in my dreams, because it's like, hey, I have to sleep and waste all that time sleeping, so let's get something out of it.
I totally agree. I'm like, I'm doing some work while I'm sleeping.
Right?
That's why your astral projects so much or astral travels so much.
Yeah, I know, right? So I wrote down to close out a few different things that could be very helpful when it comes to working with your child and their psychic abilities and helping them understand them if they're already experiencing it. Not every kid experiences psychic things right off the rip like that, but there are so many that do, that is, it's going unseen, unnoticed, and not dealt with properly.
Yeah.
And the first thing I got is believing in them and what they're telling you. Believe them. Don't tell them they're a liar, like Chrissy was saying earlier. Don't, discredit what they're telling you or make them feel silly, ridiculous, stupid, dumb for sharing it.
Yep, exactly. That's so important. Just having someone believe you and believe in you is huge.
Yeah. And then I got talking to them and letting them know that you support them. You know, Sometimes kids need to hear it, they need you to speak it to them. You can't just assume that your kid assumes you're in their corner if you're not telling them you're in their corner, right?
Okay, never assume a kid knows anything.
Right.
Because their brains are just different. Our brains are different. We think different. We experience the world different through the growth of our brain. So our brains do get shut down during puberty, so our bodies can focus on growing, and then they might speed up while we're in adolescence. So we might be more reactive. So just be mindful of the different brain stages of your kid as well at the time that they're having these experiences or just coming to you.
Yeah. So listening to them and understanding the best way that you can. And that's kind of like the first one in, making them feel heard. But really listen. Let them share what they're going to share. Don't interrupt them. Don't cut them off. Don't correct them. Let them say what they need to say and feel what they need to feel while they're saying it. And if you're correcting them, cutting them off, whatever, you're not allowing that process to take place properly.
So true. And their strategy or like their comfort level might be to send you like a YouTube video about what they experienced and watch it. Just shut up and watch it. It's just like and just
Yeah.
be like, oh, I watched that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It doesn't like if you still don't understand, at least you have a reference, and
Yeah.
maybe that's all you're supposed to understand at that time, and their experiences will start building up on them, on each other, and more things will make sense. But just if that's the way that they want to communicate this to you, embrace it and just watch it.
Right. So then I put learning more about what they are specifically experiencing. And that's basically what you just said. And it's too funny that you said exactly what I was about to say next, because you probably felt it, my energy, because I just read it right before you said that. Um, but yes, reiterating that again, that's how important it is that Spirit had us say it twice. You know, how can you help them if you don't truly legit understand what it is they're going through and experiencing? And hey guys, guess what? It ain't like the 80s anymore. We have the internet, and like Chrissy said, we have Google, and we have all the knowledge and wisdom right at our fingertips for free,
Yep.
so
But
we need to
yeah.
use it.
But it's also like make sure with all of these things at our tips, you want to make sure they're going to you first. You don't want them going to someone on YouTube and leaving comments because they have questions because their parents aren't listening. That's that could be a dangerous road, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of bad advice out there spiritually, and also that might be just a little bit of a red flag for you that maybe they don't trust you and that you need to work on that trust, because it's our responsibility as the adult and as the parent to open that communication and to be a safe space for our kids, because it's not their responsibility. This, they're just starting out. Like we're the ones with the more experience. Even though we might have never been parents before, we are the adult in the situation, and that we need to make sure they feel safe coming to us. Because if you're starting to notice your kid Googling things and trying to find other information or reaching out to other resources without your knowledge, that means they don't feel comfortable coming to you, and maybe you need to reassess your approach to them and what they're experiencing.
Absolutely. The next one's really simple. Don't dismiss their experiences. And I feel like that kind of like is in the background of some of the other ones I said, but again, it's such a very important aspect to this that when you dismiss their experiences that they're trying to share with you, then they're going to stop sharing those experiences with you. And as a matter of fact, they're going to end up possibly not sharing anything with you.
Right.
And then that totally destroys the connection, you know?
Yeah, and those are their experiences. They're not yours to validate or to criticize. That they were meant to experience that, not you. So let them
Yeah.
share their experiences, how they experienced it, without trying to manipulate it into like a safer, more PG way or a little more happy way. Or it's just if they saw something scary, or they saw a dead person and that was talking to them in their room, that's for them to experience, not for you to, it wasn't meant for you.
And I'm an army time girl, so it is 1717 right now. That's another angel number I'm throwing out for everyone during this, and 444 earlier. But I got to say, what you just said made me think about just a little bit ago when you talked about your experience of feeling like you couldn't sleep at night and you had to protect your house from burning down so that you and your family survived. Um, you were legit going through a past life experience, right? And you know that now, but you didn't know that then. And it's not that anyone needed to know that, but just that your parents needed to understand that you were working through something
Hmm.
and you were meant to work through it. You accidentally woke up or something during that house fire and knew it was happening, and you died with that trauma
Right.
of,
Oh yeah.
I couldn't save myself or my family. I died in this house fire. And then when you were born in this life, you had memories of that because it was so traumatic and you needed to work through it energetically. And the only way you could was to stay up all night, sleep on the couch, feel like you were watching over everybody. That was you working through it, you
Yeah.
know?
And I
And
was in
so
like
your
second
parents, like,
grade. So,
oh, you're on the couch again. They were really working against that for you. And it's kind of messed up. You know what
oh
I mean?
yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I was in like second grade. So it's like, how could I just come up with that on my own, you know? And yeah, and I remember, like, I could still remember the feeling. It was so real. The threat was real enough to like have that adrenaline rush that keeps you up all night, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were trapped in a house that burned down and you didn't make it out. So I you were awake. So I can't imagine how traumatic that was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense that you carried those energies through with you into this life,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
And luckily, you're so amazing and so tapped in that you were able to work through it, even though you had no help from your parents whatsoever,
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
Well, I was even afraid of like my brother lighting the candles at dinner, like on the dinner table. I would stand by the back door because I'm like, that's the house is like that's you don't want to have fire in the house. Like, and they would laugh at me, but I had like a genuine fear that I would stood at the like the closest exit whenever he lit a candle
Oh,
just at the dinner table. And but now I feel like in hindsight, like I definitely, I mean, it probably took years to work through, but now I embrace the fire. I love like having a bonfire is one of my favorite things. I'll make a fire outside at our pit by myself if no it's too cold for everyone else or it's too hot for everyone else. Like I find fire to be more peaceful. Um but I think it's because I worked through it on my own, and I had,
Yeah.
yeah, but it took years
Yeah.
because I had fear of fire for probably, yeah, for a very, very long time.
Yeah, that is proof that you overcame that trauma. And also, too, in your adult years, you know now that you can control the fire, especially if you made it, like a
Yeah,
bonfire, you know?
yep, yeah, for sure.
So I have two more. The next one is encourage them to express themselves more, however they are called to do so. So this is like taking it a step further. Okay, now you've sat with them, you've talked to them, you've listened, you've heard them out, you've tried to understand and resonate with anything that you can. And you want to encourage your child to open up more and to not be afraid to open up more by communicating more with you about their experiences, which will help them open up more.
Yeah, like that's why a lot of child psychologists will be like, color, draw pictures, draw a picture of what you saw, draw a picture of what scared you. So when they draw it, like seeing is believing, because we're humans and that's just how our brains work. So when they see it on paper, even though they drew it, that makes it more real for them. And that makes it more just like this is what I saw. So it gives you almost like certainty to like believe. And if they draw it and you still dismiss it, oh, that's heartbreaking. And there's other ways that they can do it too. I mean, they might even just want to tell you a description. They might want to compare what they saw to another experience or a movie or a TV show or a character. But just yeah, help them get it out of and make it a reality instead of just like a question of an experience.
Yes. And then lastly, and I've saved the most important for last, I think, is just simply supporting them and what they are going through. And this to me is most important because no matter what, even if you don't understand, you have no clue how to even approach this kind of situation, topic, subject, just making them feel supported by you. Like, hey, I don't know exactly what you're going through with seeing a ghost in your room every night because that's never happened to me, but I support you and I'm here for you. And I will try to understand and do the best that I can to be here for you while you experience this, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And even just a hug goes a long way. Just like that physical hug of support will go a very long way. But also, I know like a lot of parents, they are so afraid of getting stuck in the routine of sleeping in like their kid's bed or having their kids sleep with them. But if they're experiencing something in their room, you should go to their room and sleep within their bed or even sleep on the floor. Like you might have to sacrifice a good night or two of like sleep just to kind of give them like a reset of the energy in their room. And especially while they're going through some of the healing and some of the practices to get that control back and to get their power back. And reclaim their space. You should be there at night to help them just for like a night or two. And then after that, they won't need you because they have reset that energy and those boundaries for their space.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
That
so I think we've
was
covered
a good one.
so
I
much.
kind of feel like this was all over the place, everyone, but I
Yes.
still, Chrissy and I do not in advance set this up, act this out, get this ready. Like we just say, we're talking about this and we channel a little bit and then we come on here and we freaking do it. So
Yeah, we pick
we're
a
trying to
topic and
make
talk.
this we're just trying to make this as real as it can possibly be. So, so I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Let us know if you need anything.